Now we are ready to take our SketchUp drawing and bring it into a program called VCarve Pro that will turn it into the XYZ coordinates to use on the CNC router. This may be a little bit of review from the last video, but just in case you didn't get to that last video or you forgot, once you have your SketchUp file here, I'm going to go ahead and erase all of these guidelines because we don't need any extra geometry in on that drawing. I'm going to download this, and this one I always recommend that you download it to your network drive. This one I am just going to download to here and bring it into VCarve and save that in my network drive. So it's called nightstand2.skp. You may have it saved to something different, but now that I know that it's in my download folder, I'm going to come here, open up VCarve, say create a new file. Now yours may come up completely different than this because this is, I've used it before, so it always defaults back to the last time that somebody used it. So make sure you do this very carefully with me so that we are certain that we get this to be exactly right. So job size, that is this white page right here. That is the size of the piece of wood you're putting on the CNC router. So the size of the piece of wood is a 4x8 sheet, so it's 48 inches wide, 96 inches tall, and it's going to be 0.75 inches thick. This is the one thing that gets screwed up a lot. The zero position needs to be the machine bed, not the material surface. And our XY datum position is the bottom left corner. The rest of this stuff should be all good to go. And I'll hit OK. Now, I need to go get that drawing. So I come over here to say import vectors. And I'm going to find that. I have it in my downloaded file. If I was you, I would put that in your network drive. Nightstand 2 was today at 1:09 p.m. Now this stuff's important. Exploded flat layout, auto orientate, that's good. Gap between parts 1 inch is good. We want to have all these boxes checked. Make sure that this one right here is not checked. If that one's checked, it gets rid of all your dados and rabbits. Import all visible data and say OK. So there are my parts. It has it lined up vertically. That's perfect for us. We'll roll with it just like that. These, though, are just lines. It's not ready to run to the CNC router. We've got to write our tool paths for it. So we're going to start with our tool paths. We're going to start here. And notice that it's all one big object. So I can't get parts separated. Even if I can, when I click on this part, so I clicked over to the white space, I click on this, it's all one big piece. I need to explode it or ungroup into original object layers. Now I should be able to mess with individual parts. We're dealing with a circular cutter on the CNC router. So if we would just have the CNC router cut out the dado here, we would have rounded corners. So what we need to do is make this a little bit bigger than what it needs to be, so we go a little bit past and we don't have the round corners that the router leaves us. So I'll come over to here to edit objects, and I'll make sure I click the edit with the compass on it. And I can zoom in with my mouse by clicking the scroll wheel or scrolling the scroll wheel up. And I'm just going to enlarge these rectangles just a little bit. Same thing for the rabbit. And the closer you zoom, you don't have to make it as big as that one was there. I wasn't zoomed in very far. I'm actually going to make this a little bit smaller as well. Don't need it to go too far. The trouble if we make them too big is that we'll run into the part next to ours and we'll waste some material. Well, there's that one. I'll have to do the same thing here. Ungroup back to original layers. Then I can grab just the rectangle for the dado or rabbit and pull it out. Pull it out, and the last one here we will also pull out. Okay, I've got all the dados done. So now what I'm going to do is select all of the dados by clicking on it, and then if I hold down Shift, I'm able to select more than one. If I accidentally select on something that I shouldn't, so if I accidentally clicked on this line, I'm still holding down Shift. If I click it again, it should deselect. Oh, I accidentally moved it. Well, that's not working. So I'll just click away, come back, click all these again. Now I'm going to come over here to toolpaths. We've got lots of options for tool paths. A profile tool path follows a line. A pocket tool path cuts everything out in between the two lines, which is what we'll do for dados. Cut depth for all dados, 1/4 inch. Then I've got to select a tool, and I may not have the right one. So I'm going to click on New. I'm going to call it an end mill, 0.375. That is the diameter of the cutter. Its mass pass depth is 0.76 inches, so you're going to have to fill all this out on your own. Its step over is 80%. Spindle speed is 18,000. The feed rate is 130 inches a minute. And the plunge rate we can say is 70. This is real important here. We've got 8 different tool positions. It could be one of 8 tools. This is tool number 1. I hit apply. You can see it creates it right up there. And I hit OK. So I've got that tool. Sometimes that disappears. I've got that tool path selected. That's good. Ramp plunge moves means it's not going to go straight in. It's going to kind of ease its way in. With an inch, that's fine. Your window may be bigger than mine. That's totally fine. And we're going to call this dado. And then we're going to calculate it. And then we're going to see in the 3D view up here that we got the dados calculated, dados and rabbits calculated. Okay, so that tool path is done, and you can see the arrows on here. Next thing we're going to do is make the rabbits. So just like with the dados, those rabbits in the back have to get extended. So we're certain that we get the whole rabbit in there and we don't have any curves. Okay, that one's already selected. I'll click over here, select that rabbit, come back here. I'm going to close this, and we're going to make another tool path. Cut depth for your rabbit, it's going to be 0.375 or 3/8 of an inch. We can use the same bit. Hit OK. This is all good. That should be saved from before, and we'll call this rabbit. So now we see we've got dados and our back rabbit in. Getting close. Now we're going to click on this outside line. This is called the profile tool path. So this is what's going to actually cut out our 3 pieces, our bottom shelf and then our 2 sides. This is going to be a profile tool path. And this one we want to cut all the way through at 0.76. So 0.75 is the thickness of our material. This way we're going 10 thousandths through, and we're certain we get all the way through. We're going to select that same tool again. It says pass depth is 0.76, so we'll be able to cut all the way through. Still tool number 1. Hit OK. Next, the machine vectors. This is where the center of the tool path is going to be, or this is where the tool is going to be. We can either have it right on the line, so it's half on, half off, inside or outside. We want to make sure that we're on the outside of the line. This will keep your part the right size. We want to add ramps of 1 inch. We're going to call this sides and shelf. You'll get this warning telling you it's going to cut all the way through. That's okay. And then we can see, boom, we got this blue outside cut all the way through. And the last thing we need to do is these stringers up here. That's okay that they come up together. If they don't, you can just draw a box around them. We want to have them both selected. Tool path. It's going to be the same profile tool path. Cut depth is all good. Now here's where the only thing we want to change. We'll use that same tool. Under edit passes, we want to do this in 3 passes because we don't want it to cut all the way through. Sometimes little parts have trouble staying put or being held in place by the vacuum pump. So we want to make sure that we do slower passes. We don't put so much stress on the wood that it pulls these out before they're supposed to come. And the other thing to help us with that is we're going to add tabs to the piece. And what a tab is, it's a little tiny piece on the very bottom that doesn't cut all the way through. So that we're going to actually add 4 of them. There'll be 4 spots where this tab holds the thing in. So it's only about a 1/16 of an inch deep. So the thickness 0.0625, and then we're going to say edit tabs and say put 4 of them, and you'll see. So in these 4 spots, there's going to be just a little tiny, almost paper thin piece of wood that stays in those 4 places to hold my part in place so it doesn't move. We'll add the same ramps. We're going to call these stringers. Look, if I could spell. It's okay that we cut all the way through. Tab length must be greater than 0. So I screwed something up there. Let's go back. Oh, there we go. Thickness 0.0625. It might be that those are too thin. Let's try again. Oh, that worked. I just had them at 0 instead of 0.0625. Now, if I want to save this, I always will double check these. Okay, we're good. Now what you need to do is you're going to save all this. So if we click back here, we can see that we are on the machining tab. We see all of our tool paths. We need to save this VCarve. And then you'll get the flash drive from me. It's over by the CNC router. The flash drive will pop up here, and you'll say, I need to save this to the flash drive. Then we're going to bring it over to the computer by the CNC router. And I'm going to double check your tool paths before we cut it out so we're certain we're not making big mistakes. Please save it as your initials. I'm KLS, and we are block 4. So I'd be KLS4, and I would save that on the flash drive. I'm going to save it in my network drive because I am not bringing the flash drive over at this exact moment. But save it onto the flash drive, and then we can get this running on the CNC router.